Hello everyone, and welcome to another Japanese car review, specifically another Japanese K car review, or sort of a K car. I'll get onto that in a moment. This is the Daihatsu Charade, or as they called it in other places, the Sior, or as you may know it best, the Mira. Now this is an L250 chassis code car. It's a 2003. Now this is almost a K car, and I say almost because this, being the export version, has a 1 litre 3-cylinder engine. Now the correct K car of course should have a 660cc turbocharged engine to meet their regulations. Now if things go to plan, I will have released this review back to back with the Suzuki Alto Works that I drove. Now that was a 1996 car, and that is a genuine import K car. And the two are very different. Now, this car, of course, was sold in the UK. This is a UK model car with only 57,500 miles on the clock. What strikes me as being really different between this and the Alto Works is just how much more refined this thing is. Now, of course, you're not going to be reaching German barge levels of luxury and refinement in here, but the whole thing feels like much more of a quality product compared with the older car. I could also swear that it feels somewhat larger than the last car, and I'm sure some JayEmm car experts will be able to tell me whether or not that is actually the case. I haven't looked it up because I didn't think that it would be any bigger, but it certainly feels it. Now, you can tell that they've really designed this thing to be as lightweight and as space efficient as possible. It's the small little things that make a difference as well, like there's a little lever just under the handbrake down here. If you pull it one way, it opens the boot. Push it the other way, that'll open the fuel flap. And the boot itself has only one gas strut and one piece of string holding up the parcel shelf. Bombing down a bumpy little country English road like this, it's actually pretty comfy. This car is totally standard with one notable exception, which is the early MX-5 wheels that it has on it, put on there because the original ones weren't to the owner's taste, and also they wear tiny 155 section tyres. The new wheels are wearing 185 section rubber, which in theory of course gives the car a bit better handling. It unfortunately also does knacker the fuel economy just a little bit. Now the pedals are quite small and quite close together. I actually haven't worn my usual driving shoes today because I didn't really think I needed to, but probably would have been a good idea because I have got quite wide feet. Everything in here feels not luxury, but certainly a lot nicer than the Alto did. There is no aircon because it was quite a rare option. What you do have is the rev counter down here, which apparently is notable by its absence on the JayEmm models. And let's talk about economy and practicality and all that sort of stuff, shall we? Because let's face it, one of the main reasons you would buy one of these is as a cheap little daily. It's the sort of thing that I'd be interested in if I needed a car with not much boot space. Now, boot space is pretty much on par with the Alto. That is to say, I've put 2 bags in it and it's full. Officially, this car can get anywhere up to about 70 miles to the gallon. Now, that's never actually been achieved by its current owner, and those of you that know the town of Milton Keynes will know that it's not a great place for achieving high fuel economy. But a real world between 40 and 60 is achievable, which is not too bad. This car's actually also reasonably refined in terms of wind noise and things like that. Purchasing one of these is pretty damn cheap. So you can pick one up for under £1,000, and you can pick a really good one up for under £2,000. There really isn't a great price differential between a dog and a perfect specimen. So if you want to buy one, if you're on a limited budget, you can get a pretty decent one. Of course, things to look out for mostly include rust and just the fact that it's been looked after well by previous owners. These were made until about 2006, and I'm bimbling along here at about 60 miles an hour, and the car's only doing about 2,500 RPM, which is quite nice. One of the big problems I find with these smaller city cars is that when you get them up to higher speeds, they can be very revvy and just unpleasant places to be in. There is a bit of wind noise at this speed. But let's go back to that practicality element. Now, servicing and maintenance on these cars isn't actually too bad, but the biggest issue you'll find is that most people seem to have forgotten that they ever made them, and although you can get parts, they aren't always maybe quite as cheap as you would hope, and it can just take a little bit longer to get a hold of them. As an example, this car's owner ordered some brake parts for it from Euro Car Parts, one of the largest suppliers of car parts in the UK. It was nothing special, it was rear brake shoes. Apparently, this depot of Euro Car Parts hadn't had any of these brake shoes through their doors in over 3 years. This is not a performance car at all. In fact, I have got my foot flat to the floor and we are slowing down up this minor incline. Official performance figures, it's about 60 horsepower or thereabouts. It's not really actually much different to the turbocharged K-car version. Now, you could get this in a 3 or 5 door body style, and in Japan they also did an all-wheel drive version. Now, one thing to note as well, which I was quite amazed about, is the fact that this car's owner is very tall, at about 6'5", and yet they fit in here absolutely fine. In fact, we're working out that because I'm shorter, I sit a bit further forwards, and there's a little dip in the roof of the car here because of the cross beam that goes through the middle, and so I actually have a lot more headroom. In fact, I could get in here with a helmet on quite easily. I'm not sure I could recommend this car as a track beast. It would be hilarious to see, but for negotiating these little English country lanes, it's quite effective. Front end can wash white quite easily. These and I think that might be the wheels at the back kind of touching the chassis.
The rear wheels do scrub because they're a bit wider than what the manufacturer intended.
There's a lot of other little quirks, like the fact that when you get in it, it greets you by saying "Hello, happy," and when you go away, it says "See you, goodbye," without an E in it. Makes a difference, I suppose. It's nice to feel wanted by my car. I would say that this car lacks a lot of the sort of the bonkers banzai sort of charm of the Alto works, and the truth is that this is just as quick. The Alto just made loads more noises and all sorts of things, but as an actual car to use, this is a far superior specimen. And some of you may have also noticed that the head cam has made a return for 2 reasons. Number one, I wanted to give you that authentic K-car experience, and number 2, I forgot one of my mounts in the M3. So, ever the consummate professional you see on the channel. Wait, there it goes again. That's quite a fun little car. To be honest, for like £1,000 or so, can't really complain. So there you go. The Charade, Mira, whatever you want to call it. And I suppose, thanks to Mighty Car Mods, that the Mira is a bit of a legend, and you can pick them up dirt cheap. So there you go, another entry in the JayEmm series. Bit of a brief one, but hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button, comment below which is your favourite K car, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye bye. Go.